Good afternoon. I'm here with Greg Burns of Meta Vibrations, and we're going to talk about sound baths. And perhaps the best way to begin is, what is a sound bath?
Thanks for having me here today, Steve.
Sure.
I'm glad to talk about this. A sound bath as well, it's one term that you might see if you Google the idea of what a sound bath is. Other terms you might come up with as well, like sound healing or sound meditation. Essentially, it's using sound, kind of musical type sound, as a way to help us. Now that can be done. Individuals might set up their way that they share that in different ways. There's not one set kind of formula for it, I guess is what I'm saying. But the idea is that you use certain types of sounds, and the idea that the way that they help us are interacting with the mind in a certain way to kind of help calm the mind, bring it into a more peaceful state. But sound is also physical, and so there's vibration, and that moves through our body and has a different sort of effect on us. And so that's the general idea of what a sound bath is. And so why the term bath came to be, I think, is because the vibrations and sounds just kind of wash over you, and they kind of help to clean you up, so to speak, maybe. So that's where the term comes from, and that's kind of the general sense of what one might be.
Okay. And so I know that it's not possible to to say with any specificity what a sound bath will be like, or what the sound bath experience will be like for any particular person. But what would be some maybe characteristics that, if someone hasn't been to a sound bath before, what are some general characteristics that they might expect?
Sure, good question. And often they're done in a group setting, so there's a shared element where we're all there together kind of taking in the same vibrations. And yet when they get into our system, we're unique beings. We've had unique experiences and events in our life that have brought us to this moment that we're having with the sounds right now. And so the way they interact with us individually can be very unique. Sound touches on every part of us. It interacts with our mind, it interacts with our body, it interacts with our nervous system. Sound is very much affects our nervous system, and we know that through music and other types of sounds that happen in life. And our spiritual nature, however somebody might define that individually, can vary. But whatever that part of a person is, that deeper aspect, it interacts with that part of us as well. So the way it will unfold for one person can vary quite a bit. When I do mine, I like to take a moment to do some intention setting where the individual can decide some level of focus for themselves during this. But to give you a sense of how it can interact with people, I've done this with a lot of different people. There was a lady I worked with for a while who actually was stage 4 late cancer. And she wasn't really looking for healing as much as she wanted to get out of her body for a little bit. And I think she was preparing for her transition. And so she wanted an experience where the body kind of melted away and she could experience whatever sits behind all of that. I've had a lady who comes kind of regularly because she deals with tinnitus, the high ringing in the ears that never goes away. But she's learned that through coming to a sound bath, it gives her relief for about a week or 10 days from that experience of tinnitus. So that's a very physical kind of thing, and ironically, it's a sound thing that she's struggling with, and yet this is a sound experience that helps to relieve that discomfort for her. So that's kind of a couple ways. But it's very unique for the individual. It can unlock creativity. It can help relieve physical or emotional disturbances we're kind of working through. My mom had to have emergency heart surgery a couple years ago, and I would take it and play for her to give her peace. So it can be something that accompanies other types of healing work as well.
Okay.
Sound's a really dynamic thing. We have quite a dynamic relationship with it.
So how did you become involved? Well, actually, before that question, how would you describe your role in facilitating the sound bath?
In terms of during the experience?
Yes.
Well, it's certainly different than the participant. You know, the deepest benefits from attending one of these come when you can really close your eyes and sink back into that deeper place within yourself. But we're all very different, and you know, and sometimes your curiosity needs you to look at different things. But that's the idea when you're a participant, to really go deep into that space. As a facilitator, I'm kind of listening to. There's not a formula for what I share with people. You know, it's unique to each event, and that's part of reading the space and the people that are there, and the energy of the room and the day and all those kind of elements of life. And so trying to read those things and offer sound that seems to be responding to whatever I'm taking in that sense. But also I try to observe people and how are they reacting to the sound. If there seems to be, not that it happens often, but is there agitation that's happening, or is it moving through them in a way that I need to be aware of? You know, somebody getting cold, or somebody, whatever's happening. I'm also kind of partly paying attention to the participants to make sure that everybody's kind of being taken care of properly, or taking care of themselves.
And so how did you become involved?
It's a very intuitive movement, honestly. I don't have musical training in that sense. And, you know, if I really had to try to nail it down, I think many years ago now, I kept having this pull towards drumming. Not like rock band kind of drumming, African djembe hand style drumming. And my friends heard me say I was interested in this long enough that they finally just bought me a drum and said, "We want you to do this. You've been talking about this." And so then I got invited into a couple kind of spiritual related music groups, and then started leading drum circles. And at some point during those number of years, I was in a store and heard a singing bowl. And that was my first time, I think, maybe I'd heard one somewhere in my life, but that was the first time I'd been in the physical presence of hearing one of these instruments. And it kind of really took me back and imprinted on me in a really deep way. And I said, I need to know more, I need to spend more time with this sound. I don't really know why, but I do. So I went home with that singing bowl that day, and from then it's just kind of, it's been a process of following that inner calling that we all probably have in our own way, and that's what mine's kind of been about. And then about, I don't know, almost 10 years ago, I had a deep trauma in my own life, and I turned towards sound as a way to really help me work through that. And it showed what I thought it was already trying to show me, was that it did have this component of really helping us in lots of ways. I worked 15 years in a Western therapeutic setting, so I understood it from this very Western medicine kind of way of how healing is done in that sense. But that whole time also showed me, I mean, I worked in an aspect that was more like recreation and leisure, and how you use that in therapy. So I had some exposure to music therapy, and my own experiences of how powerfully music was affecting me and sound could affect me, and then the singing bowl, and it's just kind of unfolded from there. Done a couple trainings with people of different types, but there's also a real intuitive kind of element to it, listening to yourself and trusting that part of yourself.
It's like really delving into deep creativity.
Absolutely. It's a very creative kind of movement. I mean, like I said, each event's unique in that sense. In the same way that an artist has to allow the muse to come through them, I feel like when I do events, I'm doing some version of that. I'm having to listen to some higher voice or presence or something trying to come through me. That's not about me, it's about this experience and the people that are there. So I kind of try to get myself out of the way and just be a conduit for whatever's trying to come through. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
Makes sense to me.
okay, well, good.
So, well, thanks, Greg. And we're looking forward to the sound bath this evening.
I'm very excited as well.
And I'm glad we had this chance to talk with one another.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't get the chance to talk about this a whole lot, and words are interesting to talk about sound. But I appreciate the opportunity.